This episode of HeeminGamin Station contains spoilers for all 4 routes of Fire Emblem 3 Houses and Season 4 of Agretzko. And also, Flane and Seteth's origin? Okay. Viewer discretion is advised.
I liked Fire Emblem Awakening and Fates. In those games, you could summon armies. You could grind a relationship from C to S in 15 minutes. But in Fire Emblem 3 Houses, it takes a bit longer.
Hello, I am HeeminGamin, the human who has played the most Fire Emblem 3 Houses of anyone on the planet. 8 playthroughs, each story with each gender. Holy cow, don't do that! Why did I do this? For you, okay? I didn't look up each relationship on YouTube, I didn't read a wiki. I unlocked them all so I can make this video. I have toiled to make this video. Over the past 3.5 years, I have, not played any other games in my free time for you. So I can say, with full honesty, more than anyone else who has said this phrase, thanks for watching. Roll that title card.
Hello, YouTube, and welcome to HeeminGamin's Top 10 Canonical Fire Emblem 3 Houses Relationships. An opinion piece. Jiminy Cricket, I never thought I'd be able to say those words. So what the frick does that even mean? Well, there aren't defined relationships in Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Everybody about the player only goes up to an A rank here. It's true, some characters have 4 conversations, and oddly enough, some only have 2. Which is a real shame with the Lysithea Catherine one. I really wanted to pull on that sweater's thread, you know? But I hope you're hungry because the relationships I prepared for you are sweet, spicy, and dare I say it, a little bit sexy. Also, it should be stated that this is all just headcanons. It can't be actual canon because all 3 of the house leaders are on this list. And if you choose one of the house leaders, that usually ends up killing the other 2. Well, actually, I think in Azure Snow, Claude escapes Dimitri's Fodlan. But yeah. I went and I unlocked all the relationships in this game. I watched them, and now I'm gonna tell you my favorites. And then I'll explain why I think they make a lot of sense. Alright, let's go and do number 10. This was originally going to be a joke pick because Bernadetta and Caspar's voice actors are the same voice talent as Retsuko and Haida. And in the time it took me to play this game 8 times, 3 more seasons of Agretzko came out, and in Season 4, they do start dating. And it was a disaster! The thing that I wanted so badly really sucked. And then I was supposed to do this rug pull where I actually point out that Caspar and Bernadetta's relationship is really good. And I mean, it is. It's better than this. Gosh, you two have no communication. Go back to the poodle chick, man. She was into you. A side note, by the way, the crossover between Fire Emblem voice actors and Netflix is staggering. I cannot unhear Caspar in Jack.
Hey, buddy, you sure you're not imagining it? You know, could be stress, lack of sleep.
Okay, now to praise Bernie and Caspar. Basically, Caspar gets Bernadetta to do something that multiple people have tried and failed to accomplish, which is getting Bernadetta out of her room. Granted, he does this by literally kidnapping her to show her lovely view, but hey, ends and means and the such. Same thing in the B conversation as well, but in the A conversation, she tells him to cut that out, take her there without wasting, and to never take anybody else there. And then he promises to take her and her alone to all sorts of cool places. A sweet relationship in my eyes. Better than the freaking Gretzko one at least. Okay, so this feels like an obvious one for canonicity, but can we just talk about Heemin and Dorothea's epilogue real quick? This proved to be another worthwhile discovery by the father of Crestology. Heemin also became a father in the more literal sense, by raising many children with his wife, Dorothea.
You dog! I just want to make that the #1 relationship. How could you take that away from him?
Because it's not real. However, there is this line with Heemin and Manuela. They filled the halls with their banter in a way that only married couples can. And that's honestly the sweetest line that any epilogue could have. And honestly, I should place them a little higher on the list, but the thing is, in their actual support conversations and in-game cutscenes, they are so mean to one another. And all three are practically identical. It starts with them yelling at one another, making up, and then before the thing ends, they're back at one another's throats. However, this relationship just makes sense. I'd honestly love to read a fluff piece about those banter-filled halls they're talking about. However, my greatest piece of evidence is that they have a type of dialogue that is completely unique to them. Two of their conversations fade out with them both talking over one another.
There it is. Manuela begins to protest even when she knows the fall lies.
If the game had to invent a completely new gameplay mechanic just for how the two interact with one another, well, in my book, that's enough for a canon relationship. Of course, LBH, the Shamir one makes a lot of sense too.
Chet, Dimitri doesn't have any support conversations with Shamir.
How queer.
Dimitri and Catherine. So normally I wouldn't want to place a teacher together with a student because, you know, the whole power dynamics thing, but like Dimitri is a king, so we better call up Robin because that tips the scales. In all of their conversations, Dimitri asks Catherine to return to the kingdom that they both hail from. She always declines, but each time more and more feeling is put into it to the point where it just has some majorly flirty vibes, something not typically seen in supports. I don't know, the Foremost Knight returning to the Kingdom of Fargus as their queen seems pretty good to me. But I still think we should consider that Shamir one. Okay, before we talk about this one, I want to go out and say the relationship I want the most is Byleth and Constance. Okay, because partway through the S rank, my one true love comes in. Alright, Constance, you can go now. But why date a gatekeeper when you can have me?
Killer Jack.
Girls are smelly.
He's right, they are.
Well, I think that gatekeepers are smelly.
Get out. Get out.
However, for people who actually like Constance, I think that Yuri will do nicely. The Sea Convo has Constance asking Yuri to help restore the noble House Nouvelle to prominence. Yuri says, "What's in it for me?" And Constance has nothing. Near the end of the B conversation, Yuri mentions that he was talking to some nobles, but he doesn't really mention what it was about. And then at the beginning of the next support conversation, she accuses him of helping her out. He kind of skirts around it, but asks that if the house is restored, that he gets one little thing in return: pouring river water in your socks. Just kidding, it's marriage. He obscures the reason like he obscured the fact that he was helping. Classic Yuri. Besides, you know you gotta hook up the kids coming straight from the underground. Lorenz is a tricky fella. He comes off as pretty pompous in most of his C conversations, but by the time you reach that A1, his reasons become admirable. Seriously, there are a lot of characters that I wanted to pair him up with. And if it was like Catherine and Dimitri, you know, just flirting, I'd put him with Lysithea. He hits her with such a stomach-churning monologue, I'm tempted. But I gotta go with Hilda. It has all the hallmarks. Lorenz is getting increased social standing in the Alliance. Hilda is actually helping instead of delegating. But I mean, let's just look at the dialogue.
I also told him how I wished you could join our family. Lawrence, you know what I mean about you joining our family, right?
I believe I do. And I confess, if I am correct, that the same thought has preoccupied me as well.
I mean, come on, that's like 3 half engagements right there. Like, and that's like 1.6 half engagements. I know it's just napkin math, it might be a little off, but I'm pretty sure that's at least 1 engagement. You can trade 1 engagement in for 1 marriage if I'm not right. Like, yeah, you know what? Throw some rights to these two.
Sylvain has the same problem as Lorenz. 2 perfect catches. Mercedes works just as well because in both conversations, Sylvain mentions that he hates women who like him just for his crest. And I mean, the Mercedes one works well because she has a crest just as well and doesn't really care about his.
Let's get married and have crest babies.
Sure.
But that's what makes the Dorothea relationship work so well, because she also dislikes guys who are attracted to her because of her songstress backstory. Oh, side note, Felix doesn't really know this, so he's also a decent choice for her. But since they both have something that they don't want to be liked for, and they just plain like one another, and I ain't gonna lie, Dorothea says it best when she mentions that Sylvain has one of the most legitimately romantic lines of all time. No, here, listen to this line and tell me they don't belong together.
Even if you were an old grandma, I'd still flirt with you. And I'd absolutely win you over. Though, I'd much rather win you over now. And be with you until you become an old grandma.
I'd rather you win me over now, too. So that I can stay by your side until you're an old grandpa.
Alright, spoiler incoming, and it's not story spoilers either, okay? It took me 2.5 playthroughs to find this out. If you don't want to know Flayn and Seth's true identity, and you want to keep that part of yourself intact, go ahead and skip to 1152. So, Ignatz is a painter, and he accidentally gazes at Flayn. And he thinks, oh wow, you look just as wondrous as Saint Sethline. And then he wants to paint Saint Sethline. So he starts reading about Sethline to try and learn about who she really was. But when Flayn discovers this, she goes ahead and tells him some first-hand accounts. And finally, in Conversation A, he asks Flayn if he can paint her like one of his French girls. You know, so he can have a reference picture of, you know, Saint Sethline. I don't know, maybe this one should be lower on the list, but the fact that a glance alone at Flayn, you know, Ignatz was able to decipher her truth, how could I not include it on this list? This one, I think, can be chalked up quite simply. Like, the first few conversations, whatever, they bond over tree climbing and then questioning the nature of gods outside of Fodlan, you know. But there are a couple of lines in Conversation A that just can't be overlooked.
My grandfather has been saying I must find a husband of Fodlan. I will only be marrying if I find a good person.
So you just need to find a man who meets your expectations.
Well, I can make spaghetti. Oh no! You're meeting all of my standards! All joking aside, if we can assume that Petra says the exact same line twice in a row here.
Oh? And who's the lucky fellow?
It is my secret. I will not be telling him yet.
This next line assures that whoever she is talking about will definitely be marrying her.
And if he gives refusal, I will be tying him up and dragging him home.
Close up!
Alright, before we go on, it's honorable mention time. I watched all of the conversations. I gave them all a 1 out of 10 rating. And I'm gonna go ahead real quick and read off all the 9 out of 10s or higher that didn't make the list. With the exclusion of Byleth, because S ranks are just OP. And Byleth is only at the number 2 spot, so let's go! So, we've got Dorothea and Hubert, Dorothea and Ferdinand, Hilda and Balthus, and then Flayn just has nothing lower than 9. Sometimes they're like, there's Dimitri, Claude, Ferdinand, Lindhart. By the way, Lindhart can, in his epilogues, he dispels Lysithea and Happy, so if you want to undo those Eldritch curses, that's an excellent way to do it. Byleth can cure their curses just by being the Mary Sue that he is. Let's see. Then we also have Mercedes and Sylvain and Lysithea and Lorenz. Like I said. Marianne and Lindhart, Marianne and Lorenz, Ingrid and Dimitri, Manuela and Sedith, Annette and Felix, Annette and Ash. Oh, shoot! Annette and Ash. I completely forgot. Okay. Undo the constants. Well, I was just doing that for the gatekeeper joke. Really? Okay, so 2.5. Annette and Felix. Okay, so this spans more than just their supports, okay? It starts with Gilbert giving Annette a doll. We can agree that happened, right? It's just the B rank between a father and a daughter. Now we jump over to Ash and Annette in the C rank, and we learn that Annette is good at studying. And then in the B rank, we learn that she became good at studying so she could get a scholarship to the academy to reunite with her father. Then we fast forward 5 years in the future, and Annette and Ash are cleaning the ancient tower. Hey, look! A unique asset! It's probably the only background asset without the one gross tear in it. You know what I'm talking about? Am I the only one who noticed that every support realm has that really gross line? anyway, they get locked in. They manage to escape, but Annette lost the doll that her father gave her. And then, in rank A2, Ash enters the tower, scared to death of ghosts, but manages to rescue Annette's doll. Nothing outwardly romantic, but seeing Ash face his great fear just for Annette, it does something for me, man. Alright. Alright, we are now moving on to the top two that I will fight in tooth and nail to say canon.
Tally-ho, lads!
Ya drongo. Don't know what that word means. Heard it in Overwatch 2. Even if you've never talked to another character, and no matter what story you choose, you always have access to Sothis. Just the difference between Crimson Flower and the other stories is just, it's chef's kiss, look at this.
The stone within your chest is little more than decoration now.
However, in the final cutscene of Crimson Flower, this happens. And then the line changes so the two of you can be together forever.
The stone within your chest? It is no more.
I believe that it is canonical that Byleth stayed celibate.
And he never said why.
Also, Cassandra Lee Morris gives her greatest line read of all time in this conversation.
I love you deeply, overwhelmingly, passionately. Ours is a love without an end.
Alright, so heading from an S rank tailor-made to make the player feel good to a mere A rank may seem a bit jarring, but hear me out here, okay? Edelgard times Hubert wins because it does something that no other A rank does. Because they can't really. Modern Fire Emblem at the end of the day is about player affirmation. You get to choose first which hog you want from the pen, and then in the epilogues they dole out the remainders. In none of the conversations does anybody have the genuine audacity to mention love. I mean, it's brought up slightly in Flame and Linhart's, but only as like a vague concept. But then you go and listen to all of Byleth's S ranks, and like 75% of them, at least one person says, I love you. But in Edelgard and Hubert's A rank, Edelgard asks to know all of Hubert's secrets, and he relents.
To the identity of the one I love.
I was under the impression that you were homosexual.
I'm not gay, you born-again homophobe halfwit.
But Edelgard demands to know who it is that he loves, and he lets her have it.
It is you, Lady Edelgard.
So if you're going down the Crimson Flower path, and you're not trying to marry Edelgard, and let's be honest, you really shouldn't, that is one of the worst S-rank cutscenes in the entire game, I would call this canon. Of course, I really think we should give some credit to the Shamir.
So that's my list for the top 3 houses.
Man, I hope Engage makes this easier on me!